Welcome to Bedtime Stories. The Fairies Net. Once upon a time, there lived fairies in a place called Rangwahia far to the north. Nearby there lived a tribe of men and women, and the eldest members of the tribe often told tales to the children about these fairies. No one has seen them for many years, the elders said to the children, who listened in wonder to the stories of magic. "How I wish I could see the fairies," one of the youngest boys told his mother, but she scolded him for thinking such thoughts. "You must never go near Rangwahia," she said. "It is a haunted place. It is no place for a child." But the more she forbade him, the more the boy longed to see this place and to learn the secrets of the fairies, for he knew that they must be there. His mother hoped that as the boy grew older he would forget these stories, but instead the stories stayed in his mind, and the lure of Rangwahia grew. When at last he was old enough to go out on his own, he set off for the land of the fairies, though he was careful to say nothing to his friends or family. He did not want anyone to stop him. As he was walking along, he happened past a beach where he saw a mound of fish bones lying beneath the hot sun. He went over to see if perhaps any fish remained, for he was growing hungry. But when he reached the spot, he was startled to see very odd markings in the sand. "These are the strangest footprints I have ever seen," he said to himself, bending down to study them more closely. And then, suddenly, he knew he had discovered the fairies, for these were marks like no human foot he had ever seen. Surely it was the fairies who had gathered here. These must be the remains of their catch. He ran to the reeds at the edge of the beach, and there he lay flat as he could, hiding from sight. He waited until nightfall, silently, patiently, until finally he heard a faint voice calling out, "Haul in the net." The boy lifted his head just a bit, just enough to peer through the reeds, and he saw what he had imagined he might see. There on the water came dozens of canoes paddling to shore, and in these canoes were many figures. He could not make them out in the darkness, but he heard the voice again. "Haul in the net." Sure enough, as he watched, the figures reached for an enormous net, and this they began to haul into shore. He could see that it was brimming with fish, and soon the canoes began to land, one by one, upon the beach. As the figures leapt out of their canoes, he ran to join them, trying his best to blend in with the crowd so that no one would see he was a stranger. This was not too difficult, for he was a very fair young man, his skin nearly as pale as the fairies' skin, and besides, it was dark outside, and though a bright moon lighted the beach. They were looking intently at their haul of fish. Some were jumping into the water, careful to grab the net in places where it might be ripped by the rocks. They were so intent upon their work, they did not notice that a human worked among them. Now, as the net opened, the fairies began to do something that he had never seen before. The fishermen of his tribe would sort their fish, dividing them into many loads, but the fairies picked up whatever fish they seemed to desire, ran a twig through the fish's gills, and strung it on some kind of string that was so strong, the young man was amazed at all they could haul. The young man did the same, stringing his fish with the rest of the fairies, but he tied his string with a slip knot at its end, so when he lifted up his string of fish, the knot gave out and all the fish fell to the ground. Again and again he tried to tie a knot that would hold, but each time his knot gave way. In this way, the young man and the fairies worked through the night. Gradually dawn broke. When the fairy beside the young man turned to speak to his new friend, she suddenly saw that the boy was no fairy. "Escape! Escape!" she cried to her friends. "A human has come." The others looked up in terror and saw that a young man was among them. They quickly dropped their fish and ran toward the sea. When they were gone, the boy looked around and saw that they had left, in their haste, their fish and their net. Now he saw this net was made of rushes, but in studying the way the fairies had tied their knots, he understood why their strings remained strong, and why their net contained so many fish. All day long, he carefully studied the woven knots of the fairies' net. The next day he made his way home. His mother, ready to punish him, stopped when she saw what he carried. "I've brought a special gift," the boy said, offering the fairies' net, and so it was that the tribe learned the art of net making. To this day they have never lost the skill that one young man brought to them from the land of the fairies of Rangwahia. If you like the story, please do like, share and subscribe. Thank you for listening. Good night.